This video goes out to the Rumpus. A cane for 9 holes in a martini. That guy. He he's the star of this video because he's got a lot of people fooled. And the beginning of this video, I'm going to show this low blow he throws at Brandon Toy, who was giving him a pretty good compliment. I don't hear Brandon just throwing out compliments very often. For him to give one to Rumpus, I thought it was pretty cool. And the way Rumpus responds is just chicken shit, if you ask me. But it is what it is. But Rumpus refers to Brandon's debate with conspiracy cats. And like conspiracy cats is like Rumpus. They're good at math. Rumpus is good with fictitious forces and equations and bullshit you'll never ever deal with and never apply to you in real life. But when it comes to realistic math and practical math, he fumbles. He can't think for himself. He can figure it out, but he doesn't understand. He thinks he's got this great understanding because of math, but I'm going to show you. And he's pretty good at hiding it, but I recognized it a long time ago. He hides behind his math. He is a dipshit, okay? And if you think math makes you intelligent, you're dead wrong. It does not make you intelligent. It doesn't make you stupid, but it doesn't make you intelligent. But let me tell you, anybody can learn math, okay? If you didn't take math, and you could learn it from scratch. It's easy. It's rules, okay? You just learn the rules and learn the equations and practice, okay? Or if you've already took trigonometry, calculus courses, algebra, all that, just, if you want to brush up on it, if you're going to be discussing math, you'd want to brush up on it if it's not something you do every day in life. But so in the debate with Brandon Toy, conspiracy cats strawmans Brandon and says he doesn't understand the chart that he throws out, a perspective chart showing the miles per degree and shit, and tries to ask him all these math questions like he's quizzing him, and Brandon doesn't entertain it. I don't blame him, but so conspiracy cat starts leaning on that because he doesn't really have any responses to these new arguments Brandon's putting forth. A little twist on the arguments with some facts to back it up. And he keeps throwing out, trying to hide behind math and insulting Brandon. And then I think he asked Brandon like, Brandon's like, I understand triangles. He says, what is the internal angle? What's the degrees of one angle of an equilateral triangle? I think that's what he asked him. Brandon said 60 degrees because the sum of the angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And so if they're equal angles, 60, 60, 60 is 180. It should have ended there, but it didn't. And I'm surprised he even entertained that. But then next time Conspiracy Cat comes up, he asked him, I think, to define cosine. Like, what the fuck kind of question is that? Like, define cosine? Like, what, you want me to define, like, the ratio of the damn, what is it, the opposite or the adjacent of the hypotenuse? Right? I mean, dude, if he really wanted to entertain it, he'd have just looked it up, okay? It's that simple. But, You know, I don't blame him for not entertaining it. He showed he understood triangles, okay? So what is there to understand, okay? I mean, next thing you know, he'd have had him doing fucking unit circles, doing, uh, filling out unit circle charts and shit. I mean, it would have never stopped. And, it's because Conspiracy Cat's had nothing. He's another dipshit who lacks common sense. But I'm going to show you, and you don't have to dig back far to find blunders with Rumpus, even with his math. He'll get it right, but I'm going to demonstrate that he just doesn't understand actual math. He can't think for himself. He can recite arguments and he can stick to scripts, and probably when he's not on the line, he can probably add to the evidence, come up with some, some factors of his own in debate. But on the spot, he can't think for himself. I'm gonna show it. He ain't never had me fooled. He's an idiot. He's not smart. He's freaking, and he pretty much, he's always calling everybody more. He's hiding behind that. He's projecting. He projects on everybody just about. But let's get into it. And this might be a little painful to at first, but stick it out. It gets good.
The base of the triangle is twice the distance to the sun. You measure the two angles and you triangulation, you get a distance. It's unbelievably easy. Just a simple process of triangulation, and the distance comes from twice the distance of the sun. It's unbelievably easy.
You said that already twice. So, Rumpus, before we get into it and I kick you off because you're coming in a little hot, can you just calm down? And I want to give you props for having the guts to stand up to your fellow heliocentrist today regarding the observations from Pebble in the Pond. It showed a lot of personal integrity.
You were very brave, Rumpus.
Yep.
I just tell the truth all the time, and I'm not interested in any compliments. And I'm not interested in any compliments from an idiot who doesn't understand triangles.
Okay, bye. Thanks for stopping
in. Well, the thing is, we had to...
From an idiot who doesn't understand triangles. Like, what is there to understand? I mean, you can only go so far. And you know what? You can, like I said, you can learn math. You can learn from scratch. You can take the courses. It might take you a week or even a month or years. It's easy once you understand it. Okay, no matter how long that takes. But you can't teach common sense. You can't teach that. Okay, and Rumpus has none of it. And I'm going to show that. It's simple. Just find a new argument and start throwing real life at him, real life factors, and watch him collapse. So what's going on is Brian is asking Rumpus questions, and it almost seems like he's playing with him because this gets pretty funny. Shout out to Brian Mabbott, Mr. Brian. He knows how to get Rumpus off script. He just had him stuttering, and but then now he's Rumpus realizes that this Coriolis force has to present itself somehow, and he describes it as a wind. So you got a small wind that's barely detectable due to the great scale negator. Shout out to the plain truth, as he would describe it. The reason the Coriolis is there, but you just don't sense it because it's so minute, and it shows up as a wind. So who the freak thinks that Coriolis is a increasing gradient of wind as you go from north to south? It's retarded. But oh man, just hang in there. It's a little bit painful listening to him sometimes, but this gets good.
It's a gradient. As you go from the equator to the North Pole, And then I think Brandon Toy tried to do this in this debate with Kat. He got all confused about this and think, gosh, isn't this incredible that we've got this difference in velocity? How does an aeroplane that's going from the equator to the pole lose that 1,000 miles an hour? And how does an aeroplane go from the pole to the equator gain it? Well, it takes about 12 hours to go from the North Pole to the equator at 500 miles an hour. And the acceleration that you need to acquire due to the fact that
So he's done the math. Here it all goes. So here's Rumpus. Okay, so he just said he did the math previous. Okay, and this is simple, basic math. You know, shit we use all the time. And I mean, if you don't understand this math, then no offense. You know, people, and I'll say people who don't really mess around with any math, their talents show up in other places. You know, a lot of them can just read people like a book. I mean, you'd be amazed. Some people who can't read, but some people who are math whizzes just lack basic life skills. I think Rumpus falls under that category, but this gets good. Bear with me. Just whatever you do, bear with me. But so here he throws out the calculation. Okay, it's from the equator, okay, to the North Pole, 12 hours. Okay, based on a jet flying 500 miles an hour. So 1/4 of the way around the globe. The circumference is, they just say it, round off to 24,000. So being the circumference. Okay, so 1/4 of the way would be 6,000 miles. So 500 miles an hour, that's 12 hours. So basically 500 miles an hour in 2 hours would be 1,000. And you're going 6,000. So basically 12 miles, right? I mean 12 hours. Okay, so that much he's pretty much had scripted. But watch this.
atmosphere increasing in speed is something like, I think I worked out as 0.06 meters per second. In other words, if you were to get out of your chair, you would have an order of magnitude greater acceleration than the aeroplane has to pick up from the breeze blowing from its side. So if it's going vertically, if it was going directly from North Pole, north to south, towards the equator, it picks up a tiny little breeze all the way, but absolutely tiny, and little acceleration over distance of 12 hours gets it from 0 miles an hour east-west up to 1,000. And the acceleration, as I say, is absolutely tiny, much less than you would experience getting out of your chair. Finish.
So he, before I get to the crux, look, Brian, he thinks Brian Mabbott don't understand him. Just because you don't agree with him doesn't mean you don't understand him. But Brian pretty much lays it out and calls horse shit.
So
you've imparted some spin onto the ball, which creates the curve.
Brian, did you understand my explanation as to how aeroplanes pick up 1,000 miles an hour that are starting off at the pole and taking a 12-hour journey to get to the equator? They'll be accelerated by the increased speed of the atmosphere as it goes along, because they'll get a little waft for 12 hours on one side, and that'll gradually accelerate them up to the velocity of that the air has at the equator. Do you understand that?
I understand what you're presenting, yes. As a theory, absolute nonsense.
Well, I'm glad you understood. Well, we're making progress because you've now understood. Perhaps you understood this before. You've now understood that you can be travelling at 1 million miles an hour and not know that. And the only way you can sense it, as you're saying, is.
So here's where it starts, man. This is where it starts, and he's back on script, you know, and just, you know, doing what he does, fooling everybody, making everybody think he's intelligent. He's a dipshit, and this shows that he ain't good at real life, real scenarios, math. I bet he lost a lot of lunch money growing up. I bet he's probably a thin man. Geez, I could only imagine. But here's the crux right here. So let's get him off script. Brian plays him like a fiddle, gets him off script, and watch him, man. He's collapsed. Just
below them. So we're nearly there, Brian. We just now need to get you to understand that the Earth does rotate, which we can detect with Foucault's pendulum, a gyroscope, and then once we've done that, you'll be on board. So we're making progress here, Brian. So well done.
Okay, I'll set you a scenario now then. We're taking off from around South America and we're heading to the North Pole, and it's going to be a 6-hour flight, and then
No, it's
we're
not.
going.
No, hold on. You can't get from South America to the North Pole in 6 hours.
Okay, here's the beginning of his meltdown, and he don't even realize it, and everybody else does. So what's about to happen is I'm gonna play a little bit, but everybody's just kind of doing the basic numbers in their head. Not Rumpus. He got no common sense. Okay, it's gonna become crystal clear. Okay, so he just said from South America, which is the equator, Ecuador, Colombia, I think Argentina, to the North Pole. Okay, so he's just putting up a scenario for 6 hours. Okay, so that's half the time of the jet that flew at 500 miles an hour and got there in 12 hours. So he just bumps it up to 1,000, and Rumpus is anything that goes against his delicate little model, he automatically blocks. So this is where his common sense just fails to oblivion, and his cognitive dissonance is he's just brainwashed. Okay, and maybe he'll even hear this. Maybe some other people hear this, see it, and realize it's cognitive dissonance is the best way to explain it. He's zombified. He can't think for himself. He's thinking for his model. He's a slave to the model. Listen.
Well, this is a very fast plane.
No, it's more than just a fast plane. That's more than a rocket.
A Bluebird.
So it would take a rocket. It would take a rocket to get from the equator to the North Pole in 6 hours. Okay, but and he knows that the Blackbird does. He says like 2,500 miles an hour. The Blackbird is a very common topic of discussion in this topic. Okay, so he knows it does over 2,000 miles an hour, but he can't think like normal people. He's got to think in velocity, so he's got to break shit down further to points beyond understanding normal day-to-day common sense shit. So he's the only one who's thinking so deep that he doesn't understand it. So when he says people don't understand, he don't understand. So he projects that on everybody else because he thinks that they're trying to think like him, and he barely understands it, if at all. So he thinks nobody understands. He really doesn't think like a normal person. He's an idiot. And he, like I said, I ain't trying to even be a smartass here or an asshole. He truly doesn't think like normal people. He's slow. Okay? He's slow, and maybe it's his brain overcomplicating itself. Anyway, so he's just hell bent that it take us, not even a rocket could do the equator to the North Pole in 6 hours. It would take a super rocket. Let's think. Common sense tells everybody else. The speed of sound is almost there. It's like over 700 miles an hour. And that ain't but a super rocket. So his retardation's coming out to play. Here, keep listening.
It's a Blackbird or whatever it's called.
No, that's nothing like fast enough.
What?
The Blackbird does, I think, was it 2,500 miles an hour? I think something like that.
It's only.
So Brian's getting it. I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but it gets worse. It gets even worse. It's I gotta point this stuff out. So he's pointed out the Blackbird does 2,500 miles an hour. Okay. So just listen. Shit.
How is it from the equator to the North Pole?
Well, you described South America to the North Pole, which is almost double that. But if we just go with the equator to the North Pole,
oh my God. Okay. So now he just said from South America to the North Pole, which is almost double that. Okay. Do you understand what double the distance from the equator to the North Pole would be? That'd be traveling from the fucking South Pole, you idiot. Idiot. But, common sense people, wouldn't they have a basic understanding of where the equator runs through the tropical regions of the world, whatever model you're looking at, and most everybody has the common sense of the layout of the world that the equator runs through Africa, in South America, and north of Australia, south of Central and North America. Just a basic understanding. It ain't. I call it common sense. He don't have none. So he just said that from South America to the North Pole is almost twice that from the equator to the North Pole. So this dumbass's brain is in Antarctica. Idiot. Listen.
The equator to the North Pole, yeah?
Okay.
We're going dead north.
Okay, well that's about 5,000 miles.
But maybe we're just in the Hyperloop. Maybe we're going in the Hyperloop.
So now he overcompensates with 5,000 miles. So now it's closer. Now it's literally closer from the equator. I think Erebus has had enough, and he jumps in here in a second. But it gets worse. So you see how his brain deals with this.
Oh, that's like 300 years from now. Maybe it's going to be done by 300 years from now. Okay, Hyperloop is out.
This is a scenario then. We're flying dead north from the equator in South America right up to the North Pole,
the equator in South America,
and then down the other side for another 6 hours, and we're going to land on the equator in wherever that would be, Eastern Europe, I suppose.
Shout out to Brian Mavick. He is toying with Rumpus, dude. He's mentally dominating Rumpus, and everybody's seeing it except Rumpus. He's just blurting whatever is going on in his brain. He still doesn't think that the Blackbird could go from the equator to the North Pole. His brain is scrambled like a Jeopardy board. Already went from Antarctica, and he's just realizing that the equator is in South America. So, Brian, let him off easy on that. Let him off on once he figures out the hours that it takes, once he does his math. Everybody else knows it's going to be around 3. He's doing the math, converting the shit to meters, because he's got to do that, because that's how they got to do shit through velocity. So they literally don't have a common sense understanding of basic calculations. It's sad that that's what happens to you when you go for higher learning. It's really sad. But I've been noticing this shit, and it's just they just melt. Oh God! But look how he deals with it. But shout out to Brian Mavick owning Rumpus here, and Rumpus is the only one who doesn't understand what's going on.
That way.
Okay, let's work over in Asia. So if you want, let's do a strip on a Blackbird. Let me.
One more thing. So he's going to look up the numbers. So when he's doing the numbers, he's like hoping the calculations come out to like just over 6,000, so he can be right. So like if it comes out to like 6,000, 6 hours, I'm going to say, he's hoping it comes out to a little over 6 hours, like 6 hours and 22 minutes, where he could be like, see, that's way more than 6 hours. I could hear him already. I mean, we deal in nanoseconds now. We deal in microseconds. 22 seconds is a world of time. However, 22 minutes is a world of time. So as he's doing the math, he's hoping it's gonna come out over 6, but he's hoping it's like 8 or 9 hours. Because he's saying that 12, 6 ain't even possible. It'd take a super rocket. So he's literally thinking still, okay, and I've skipped through some of this, that it'd take a super rocket to get from the equator to the North Pole in 6 hours. So no common sense, people. I could do stream after stream of demonstrating the air is not the atmosphere, measurements isn't math. He's an idiot. a flat out idiot. Okay, look how his brain copes with it though.
Just find out what the speed of a blackbird actually is, and we'll see if we can take the exact time.
Oh, it's make believe, mate. You don't have to go.
Well, no, you said an example. It's the way to understand things, Brian, is always to put numbers on them. Even if you think you've got a qualitative understanding of something, suddenly you realise, oh my God, if you put the numbers in, you have a whole new experience. So something like the centrifugal force that you're required, that the Earth that you're required to do maintain that circular motion. But when we tell you it's only 0.3% of your weight is the acceleration, suddenly you realise why it's not a factor. So you've got to put numbers to things to understand them. This is the thing a flat earthers don't do. They don't put numbers to things, and until you put numbers to things, you've no idea what you're talking about. So let's go.
The bumbling idiot. See how he tries to get back on the script, and he doesn't understand the position he's in. He's a bumbling idiot. And then he starts speaking condescending to flat earthers and people, and he thinks he's teaching Brian something. He's just being mentally owned by Brian, dude. This is awesome, dude. He's the only one who doesn't realize that Erebus finally jumps in. He just has seen enough. Brian's just playing games with him, and but he's just exposing him for the twat idiot that he is. This is lovely to me. Just watch it. I might make more of these, but I mean, I've said dumb shit. Okay, we probably all have. When you do that, you humble yourself and you concede. Somebody calls you out, he won't get a concession on anything. Brian's letting him off easy because he's toying with his ass. But what?
Find out what a blackbird can do. I've no doubt Farmer's Boy would know exactly this off the top of his head. Blackbird.
Isn't it technical term for how fast it goes? Effect ton.
Something like that. It's SR-71. Go ahead.
Why are you trying to find out some bullshit? I'm just curious. He was
about to present a scenario, and I was going to try and put some numbers to it. So
yeah, he was giving you a scenario that he already said was something that you had to think about, not actually real.
Well, it helps if you put numbers to things.
No,
it always helps.
Rumpus?
I wanted him to put numbers to things.
Yeah. So there we go. So the SR-71 top speed is 3,529 kilometers an hour. So let's turn that.
It would piss it.
Well, let's see how long it would take to get from the equator to the North Pole. Let me just go and do some calcs.
This stupid mother. Excuse my language. He still ain't got it. This is where he's hoping it's like, come on, be like 7 hours. Be 7 hours so I'm right. Be just at 6 hours and 10 minutes and I can explain that off. Idiot, man.
And we'll come.
Listen to Brian laughing at him. And everybody, this has been going on for a while. So everybody's pretty much, even people ain't good at math, pretty much figured the basic simpleton shit of doubling speed and halving the times. Come on, man.
So you carry on with you describing your scenario, and I'll put some numbers to it.
Hold on, Brian. What was your point?
It's going to take 6 hours to get to the North Pole, so alter the speed so it takes it 6 hours. We get to the North Pole, then we fly on over the other side of your ludicrous globe, down to Asia, down to the equator, and land 12 hours later in Asia.
Okay, that's 2,192 miles per hour, by the way, and I'm just going to work out meters per second, because if you want to do any maths on anything, you always turn it into meters per second if you're dealing with velocity, so we're just doing that.
Yeah, but don't forget, we'd have to slow down a couple of times for fuel reach.
Well, let's not worry about fuels. That's 9. It's about 1,000 meters per second. So there we go. So it's about 1,000 meters per second that Blackbird can do, and the distance we've got to cover is about 6,000 miles. So let's. So it's 6,000. I'm going to do some approximate things. Times 8 divided by 5 divided by
6,210. That's how far.
Yeah, so he tries to. That's the best that Erebus could do, is help him add 210 miles, just to get technical. When Brian's speaking hypothetically and toying with the freaking stuck here. He's just still hasn't caught up. So this is what math does for you people. So are these people who are they superior? Are they smarter than other people just because they're better at trigonometry or calculus? No, these people are they're slow. Their brain it doesn't work like a normal brain should. It's beat down with information. It's designed like that, you know. It's sad, but this is anytime you're debating with Rumpus, just pull him off the script, toy around with him. He's 9 out of 10. If you pull him off script, he's not gonna understand half of what he's saying. He's gonna make a fool of himself.
Big shout out to everybody.
So this is where his brain scrambles like a Jeopardy board, and because now the variables and the consequences kicks in of everything and how stupid he's looked. He absorbs it pretty well, but you can hear it in the stutter and it comes up, and that's pretty much where I'll end it. But you got to hear the end.
The YouTube, a little over 100 people watching. Excellent, man. 3 days to go. Daily boom. It's a little.
You warm the calculator up, Rumpus.
Yeah, I think it's about 3 hours actually, according to this. Yes, it's going 6,000. Yes, but
we want it to take 6 hours, I said. So slow it down a little bit. Pull back on the throttles and slow down a little.
So well done.
Got to play this one more time.
Okay, I'll set you a scenario now then. We're taking off from around South America and we're heading to the North Pole, and it's going to be a 6-hour flight, and then we're going.
You can't get from South America to the North Pole in 6 hours.
Well, this is a very fast plane.
No, it's more than just a fast plane. That's more than a rocket.
A Bluebird, it's a Blackbird or whatever it's called.
There's the super rocket. So technically, you could go from pole to pole in just under 6 hours, even if his dipshittery was true, and it was twice as far as the equator. Still get there in under 6 hours. He's wrong on every level. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case on Rumpus and end it with him coping with his bullshit and Brian doing the final ta-da.
Into the north. Okay, I'll set you a scenario now then. We're taking off from around South America and we're heading to the North Pole, and it's going to be a 6-hour flight, and then we're going.
You can't get from South America to the North Pole in 6 hours.
Well, this is a very fast plane.
No, it's more than just a fast plane. That's more than a rocket.
A Bluebird, it's a Blackbird or whatever it's called.
No, that's nothing like fast enough.
What?
Bluebird, the Blackbird does, I think, was it 2,500 miles an hour? I think something like that.
It's only, how far is it from the equator to the North Pole?
Well, you described South America to the North Pole, which is almost double that. But if we just go with the equator to the North Pole,
the equator to the North Pole. So
yeah, it would. You would end up where you started from, I suspect.
Thank you. That's it.
Do that in RSL 71. Okay, if you would particularly want to do it for 6 hours, that is feasible in an SR 71.
So is this a experience New Year's Eve twice question?
No.
Okay, so you've got what you wanted. We have an aeroplane that can do the equator to the North Pole in 6 hours as you wanted. That is a physical possibility. If the SR-71 can travel that far.
What's the point? Why is this a point? What's the point, Flat Earther? I don't know your name.
Well, he hasn't asked the question yet. Well, but he's building up to that, presumably.
Everybody gets it, but the few idiot globers. Jose gets it. Erebus gets it. All the panel gets it. Just a couple fucking math whizzes. Chikey don't get it. That dude don't get it. Rumpus don't get it. Everybody else gets it. Just the smart, intelligent people. They're the ones left behind.
But no, we want to carry on down to Asia and land 6 hours later at the equator in Asia, wherever that is. So directly opposite on the globe.
Rightio. So you want to travel half the distance of the globe. You want to go for the North Pole. You want to start the equator at South America and then end up at Asia at the opposite point, having travelled halfway around the world. Okay. So that will take you 12 hours. Okay. Right.
Right. What is going to be there when we get there?
Almost the same time as you left, and potentially they're a day ahead or a day behind. So it is a New Year's see the New Year's Day twice question, which people actually pay to do on the Concorde between England and America.
So
yeah, you would end up where you started from, I suspect.
Thank you. That makes my point. Your globe is ridiculous.
What?
Ta-da! Good job, Brian. Hats off, guys, to Brian, man.